afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. It's been a while. And it's cold. Not as cold as it was. There were some points earlier this week where we were down to about -10 or more. Thankfully, that's past us. We're now in a heat wave in the, low to mid-20s. But we did get some snow, so I wanted to play around with my new plow, which I'll show you what I've done here in a second. But let's get going.
So as you can see, I've added something here. Well, a couple things. I took the wheel weights off the other machine, threw them on here to try and get some extra traction. That just wasn't quite enough. And I don't necessarily have the time or the funds right now to do some fluid weight in these wheels. So I decided to just throw one of the tillers on, actually the bigger of the two, to make sure I could get the most weight. It's got both extensions on it. And that seemed to do the trick.
So, I've used it a couple times with the tiller on there, and it does make a difference. It doesn't spin out as easy trying to push through the snow. One other thing I did have to do was unpin the trip so that it can actually trip, because there's a section at the most of our driveways are gravel, but at the end of each driveway, at one point, they put just like a piece of asphalt. Like they just poured like a 3-foot section of asphalt, and when I push the snow up there, if I don't have the trips set so that it'll actually trip, I just whack into that. So but I'm gonna get warmed up a little bit, and then we'll get this started and we'll go out and we'll push some snow. well, it's done, but we've still got a couple problems. One of which is traction on ice, which I know what's going to alleviate that. I need to get some chains for these tires. The other problem is the float doesn't seem to float enough with the hydraulic float to not kind of push up on the front of the tractor and not lose traction here with the front tires. I think, and especially when it trips, because down at the end of the driveway when it would trip, it almost seemed like it was picking the front end up a little bit and then just kind of scooting the tractor to the side. So one option I have is to use the mechanical float, which basically just involves removing the mechanical float pin here on the blade on the lift cylinder. And then I'm not sure what the other option would be. I do need to get new skids for it, because the skids are kind of funky, but it seems to do all right, I should say, mostly all right without using the skids at all. I think one other option I could do is try to fluid fill these tires so that there's a little bit of weight in them. I do plan on changing out, even though I put this tire here on new right after I got it because the one that was on it was leaking way too much. But I don't think I'd be able to find a tire that's going to, get any better traction if the issue here is that the front end's getting pushed up on and it's got an easier way of getting pushed up on because of the weight off the back. The other thing I can do is once I get the tires fluid filled, which should end up being just about as much weight as the tiller on the back, I should be able to take the tiller off. That way there's not as much of weight hanging off the back to where it can kind of do this easily. But it's kind of all in good time, Funds aren't really majorly available right now, so we kind of make the best of what we can, which is part of the reason I went with just throwing one of the tillers on to get that extra weight to be able to get through the winter. I'm not sure if we're going to get any more snow, and if we do, I think it's going to be minimal, so I won't really need to use this again this winter. But we will be able to use it for some, warm weather projects, being that the trip does lock, so you can use it in the dirt as well as the snow. Kind of little going forward for now for the winter. It's going to be cleaning up pieces from the dethatcher and getting them repainted. I think the most tedious pieces to repaint are probably going to be the actual tines, as well as the wheel brackets, the guide wheel brackets. I would love to get that deck cleaned up before the end of winter, but it's not really going to happen until it starts to warm up. That way I can get it painted. It's just right now keeping the garage heated just really isn't an option because the only heat sources I have are the wood stove and the tank top propane heater. But other than that, things are going well this winter. Just, kind of hanging in there, bracing through the cold. Thankfully, it's not supposed to get as cold as it did this last week. Again, this winter. The very coldest day was Thursday with about -13 in the lows. So, thankfully, we won't have to deal with that anymore. But other than that, the chickens are braving through the cold. Once, gets to that time where, chicks are in Tractor Supply again, I'm probably going to get more. I'll have to set up a space, more than likely in the house, to kind of grow them out before they come out and start hanging out with the other chickens. Plus also before, it's not going to be that warm, when Tractor Supply gets their chickens in. They usually get them in February, March, and it's still going to be fairly cold out, so it's going to be too cold to put them out in the shed without any sort of heat source. And it's probably going to be too cold out here to keep them out here as well. But I hope everyone has a great weekend. Be sure and check out my Twitch channel as well. Same name, Suburban Farmer, over there. You go to twitch.tv/Suburban Farmer. I've been trying to do what I call Shop Talk Saturdays, which I'm actually filming this on a Saturday. And then I'll probably go into get started on that stream. Last week, we did just some random things, just cleaning up the wheels for that Thatcher. Other thing I did was adjust the points on this, as well as install the new voltage regulator so that this will start charging the battery again, because that's something that hasn't worked since I purchased it. But be sure and check that out. I also do some gaming content over there, and I hope to see you all there. Other than that, have a great day. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I hope to see you in the next one.